Greetings from South Carolina again. This is David Gillespie. In today's episode, we'll begin the process. Another part of the Model A ownership that we all dread is taking out the header above the windshield, the wooden header. I may also combine it with taking the top off as well, because I have to replace the top. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe below. And if you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up, and that helps the channel out. Thank you. So I am under the assumption that my header needs replacing because it's rotted in two, it's dry rotted, and the screws that held the windshield in, there were only 3 or 4 that actually had any holding power. So it's time to take this old header out. So under the visor, you can see I've already taken off the header cap, or whatever you want to call that piece that covers it there. And as you can see, everything is rusted, rotted. So I think that you will agree that it's time to replace it. It looks as if we had a leak up here years ago. I've just had this car for 2 years, and all that leaking contributed to the demise of the header. And so we may find other things that need replacing in the roof. I'm going to take and replace the top while I'm doing this anyway. Also not included in this video is the taking out of the windshield and this this header cap here. It's pretty self-explanatory, that part at least. It's just those screws on the back here that need to be removed, and the windshield garnishes as well on both sides, and then the windshield itself. I think also chief of importance in this is I'm going to cover the cowl and as much of the car as I can, because as I remove this stuff, there's going to be rusty nails falling and debris, wood. I've repainted that, as you know, so I don't want to scratch that up, and I wouldn't think you would want to either. So make whatever precautions necessary to protect your investment. So you can see this is the header garnish, or the header cap, that I've taken off. So that goes underneath the visor. This part that's painted, of course, mine's all rusted and needs replacing. It had the mirror, the rear view mirror attached to it. And notice along the top, under the visor, there were little holes to nail into the header to keep this piece on. That may present a problem for you to get it off without hurting it. Thankfully, that wasn't a problem for me, because there were no nails left in it. So I just popped it right out. As you can see, the inside needs a lot of work. So hopefully we can do that along the way, and potentially even repaint it before we put it back in, Lord's willing. So on the inside of the passenger side, we'll start with this corner here. And it looks like these 2 screws are the easiest to get out. They're just wood screws. That one and that one. And because the header is rotted, they're easy to come out. So this one here is about a 1-inch screw, and then the uppermost one was longer, about 2-inch screw. I just got a blanket covering the cowl in here. All right, here comes the first nail out, Lord willing. There we go. Putting them in my pocket. It's just so rotted. Some of them are just coming out with a finger, like that one. As a side note, my visor has been tack welded on here, and Davin Smith of Smith & Jones in Columbia had a great suggestion that he said that it must be that the header was already rotted so much that they just tacked it on to keep it from leaning forward. And so this car hasn't been restored since the late 50s, so for 60 years my header was already rotted that bad back in the late 50s. So just 28 years after it was put in. So this probably is the original header and rotted so bad in the late 50s that instead of replacing the header, they just tack welded this piece on. So I'm going to try to break this weld here so I can get this visor off. It is impact screwdriver time. Going to try to break open this rusted screw. 2 impact screwdrivers on both sides, and after taking a Dremel tool to that weld that hopefully yours won't have, I think I can now see if I can start trying to work this visor off. Hopefully.
Wow.
Think it's time to replace the header, huh? I wonder.
I would say so.
A piece of that anti-friction tape right underneath of it. So I'll be careful not to run over any of those nails. Okay, so here we can see now the header that did, I believe, need replacing. It looks like, from what I understand about the history of the car, that this is probably the original header from the factory. Oh, there's a piece of wood right there too. May not have to unbolt hardly anything, just let it fall apart in the hand. Like that. I'll make sure I keep any of these screws. See, that's saving a little money. I'll have to take that bolt off. That's actually holding something there. Well, kind of. This side's actually a little more intact. Very strange. So on top of the header, there are these 2 bolts you'll have to take off, one on either side. They're square headed, and I just hit them with some penetrating oil, and thankfully this one is actually moving, which is shocking. The header bolts on the bottom side are rounded. Right underneath of the long grain copra is this batting and then this tape on the old one. So here's the corner peeled back. Can't tell what went down in there, maybe 2 wood screws. So now we have this is a wood screw, but I'm thinking that might be part of the header itself, so maybe I won't have to replace that one. Let's hope. After much hacksawing and grinding to finally get these bolts off and this plate off that was rusted completely, so I couldn't unscrew it. So now I have everything clear to try to at least fit the header. While that stuff's off, I'm going to take this opportunity to take my little wire brush and prepare this for a little more of the OSPO and some paint. Next, I'll use this OSPO, this rusted surface painting preparation, to help to kill any rust from forming again here on the top rail where the header's at. After painting on the OSPO phosphoric acid to the rusty surface, I'll let it dry for 24 hours and then come back and, Lord willing, paint that. Okay, next I'm coming along this drip rail here on the passenger side. And mine is put on by nails, it appears, so I'm just taking and bending very carefully behind the nail to try to pry that off. So when I get to the back of the drip rail, there are two flathead screws to take off there and there. Okay, so after the drip channel, I'm taking off the old Hyden welt along the side here of the car, and the other side I've already gotten off, and it was easy because my wood was rotted on the other side, but this is a little more stable wood, so that's exciting. I'm just taking a flathead screwdriver and going back behind these nails here, so the nails go through and into the wood behind this metal flange. Alright, now with the Hyden welt off, I can pull the top material off and reveal whatever's underneath. Gotta be careful not to scratch my paint with nails that are still stuck in this, but anyway, now you can see the batting that was once placed here. By my best guess, based on the paint that paints over these layers, this was put in probably in the late 50s, around 58. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if this batting had asbestos in it, so I would wear a mask of some sort just in case. And there we go. Time to take out the horseshoe tacks that are holding this chicken wire in place. I personally am taking off this chicken wire kind of gingerly because it may be that I can reuse it. It's not in bad shape or rusted or anything. And I was also greeted with a millennial at Lowe's or Home Depot, and they informed me that they did not have chicken wire in their establishment, that they had another object called poultry netting. So I'll leave it up to you to decide on that. Okay, so I think I got every horseshoe nail out. Okay, missing one over there. There we go. And there we have it. Okay, so now we can assess the damages. And so these two back pieces here are pretty well rotted, and I've already bought replacement ribs for that. So inside the car here on the driver's side, I've got this bracket that goes across, and it's rotted up through here. So this piece across the back door behind there is rotted, this piece, but this piece seems to be solid. But the tacks from the Hyden welt, I think, are going into this, and this piece is certainly rotted. And so if this piece the tacks don't go through in the hide and weld. I feel like these pieces are sound. Okay, as I broke this part of the old header off, that anti-friction tape is in the front and along the bottom here. So it's almost wrapped around that corner there to keep it from touching. There's another piece of it there, just as reference for how to replace the top. It's pretty obvious that I have rot on what I call the back header here, and this rib. There's probably 4 ribs that need replacing. These side pieces are in pretty good shape except for up at the front, so I think I can make that. And just trying to figure out if I want to invest in a complete top wood kit or try to get by without it. I think I'm going to try to get by without spending the $700. What I call the back header was really rotted up in here, so I bought a new one. As you can see, it's pretty bad off. So there are 5 bolts, it looks like. This one was rotted out, so I easily got it out. But these have a rounded head on the back here, and they turn through because it's so rusted and rotted. So I had to take a Dremel tool and drill a slot here to act as a screwdriver slot to hold it steady as I turned the nut. And I was able to get this one out, so I'm trying it on the other one left. As you can see, it was needing replacement. And you can take it out with your bare hands. The back header. Okay, in the corner of the back header, there are these bolts on either side. They're kind of tricky to get out because they're wedged in there, but they will come out. Okay, next on the driver's side door, this garnish here that is in need of much help. It's just flathead screws, and because the wood's rotted, it comes out pretty easily. And so then that reveals the bolt heads that I need to take off in order to remove this piece of rotted wood back behind here. After cutting, hacking, and working on all those bolts that hold that piece of wood in from the top and from the bottom, I was able to finally get this piece enough loose to just about get this board out. And as you can see, it needed replacing. There were 2 bolts here that I had to drill out, 1 bolt going through here that I had to drill out, and several underneath here that I had to drill out or work out. Now all that's left is these 2 here, so that I can lift that off and try to get this out of the way. This kind of work isn't for the faint of heart. After punching all the little nails through and pulling all the bigger screw and nail heads out, I got a top piece of that rotted piece to fall out. So I think that I might be just about ready to pull this piece of wood out, the side rail. So we'll see how it goes. There it is. So this is how it looks out of the car. This is the side that goes to the driver, or to the engine, right under the driver's window, and then right under the passenger side window. All this was rotted, obviously. And what's interesting and obvious is that the places that rotted are the outermost portions,